The emergency sirens echoed through the Galactic Council chamber. Ambassador Kelrix had never heard them before in his 40 years of service. None of the gathered representatives had. The ancient warning system had been silent for 3,000 years. The council chamber floated in orbit around Senthar, the neutral world where 47 civilized species met to discuss trade, peace, and cooperation. The massive circular room had walls made of transparent metal, showing the stars beyond. Today those stars seemed darker than usual. Kelrix adjusted his ceremonial robes with his forearms. As a Zenthari diplomat, he had spent his entire life negotiating treaties and solving disputes through words. His people had not known war for generations. None of the council species had. That was what made this moment so terrifying. High Commander Vren stood at the center of the chamber. The Krillian warrior was nearly 8 feet tall, covered in thick armor-like skin. His species still maintained a military, unlike most others, but even Vren looked concerned. His deep voice rumbled across the room. 3 cycles ago, we lost contact with the mining colony on Theros 9. When the rescue team arrived, they found everyone dead. A wave of shocked whispers moved through the crowd. Deaths were rare in the civilized galaxy. Murder was almost unknown. How did they die? Someone asked. Vren's face darkened. Terror, pure terror. The medical team said their hearts simply stopped from fear. Every single colonist, over 2,000 beings, died the same way. Their faces were frozen in expressions of absolute horror. Kelrix felt his blood run cold. What could scare someone to death? The final transmission from the colony spoke of a massive ship, Brent continued. Dark as the void itself. It appeared without warning, stayed for less than an hour, then vanished. We found no weapon signatures, no radiation, no evidence of attack. Just dead bodies, Scholar Mitha floated forward. The ethereal was barely visible, just a shimmer of light and consciousness. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. Commander, you said the warning beacons activated. What did they detect? Vren pressed a button. A holographic display filled the center of the chamber. It showed long-range scanner data. A massive shape moved through the darkness of space, heading toward Council territory. This vessel is larger than anything we have ever built, Vren said. Our biggest military ships are a quarter this size. The energy readings make no sense. We detect fusion reactions, fission cores, and something else our sensors cannot identify. Kelrix stared at the image. The ship had a brutal angular design. It was covered in thick plates of armor. Strange markings covered its hull, and on the side a symbol showed a blue sphere with green patches. Can we communicate with it? Kelrix asked. We have tried every known frequency, Vren replied. No response. The vessel will enter Council space in 48 hours. Scholar Mitha drifted closer to the hologram. Her form flickered with agitation. I need to access the Forbidden Archives now. The chamber fell silent. The Forbidden Archives contained information from before the Galactic Council existed, ancient history that most species preferred to forget. Wars, genocides, and horrors from when the galaxy was younger and more violent. The council leader, an elderly Vathon with silver scales, nodded slowly. Access granted. But tell us what you suspect. Mitha vanished from the chamber. Long minutes passed. The assembled diplomats and commanders whispered among themselves. Kelrix could feel the fear growing. If Vren was worried, everyone should be worried. Finally, Mitha returned. Her shimmering form pulsed with a deep red color. Fear. Pure fear. I know what that ship is, she said quietly. I know those markings. She projected an image above the hologram. Ancient text in a language long dead appeared next to modern translations. Pictures showed a blue and green planet. Images of primitive beings standing on 2 legs. Crude weapons, terrible wars, cities burning, mushroom clouds rising into the sky. This planet was catalogued 20,000 years ago, Mitha explained. A death world on the edge of the galaxy. The surveyors who found it were horrified. The environment was toxic to most known life. Extreme gravity. Violent weather. Dangerous predators everywhere. No intelligent life should have evolved there. But something did? Kelrix asked. Yes, the humans. They were persistence hunters. They chased their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They formed packs. They used tools. They were the apex predator on a planet full of apex predators. More images appeared. Kelrix saw humans throughout their history. Always fighting. Always killing. They fought with stones, then metal, then explosives. They built machines of war. They split atoms not for power but for weapons. They created diseases to kill each other. They invented poisons, gases, and bombs. Surely they destroyed themselves, someone said hopefully. Mytha's color shifted to purple. Uncertainty. That is what we thought. 200 years ago, observers noted that their wars were getting worse. Nuclear weapons, biological weapons, artificial plagues. Then suddenly all signals from the planet stopped. When probes investigated, they found the cities empty. Buildings intact but abandoned. No humans anywhere. We assumed they had finally destroyed themselves. Then where did that ship come from? Vren demanded. I do not know, Mytha admitted. But the design matches ancient records. That is definitely a human vessel. And if the humans survived and built something like that... She trailed off. Kelrick stood up. We must attempt to communicate. Perhaps they are peaceful now. Perhaps they have changed. Vren's laugh was harsh. Peaceful? Did you see those images? Their entire history is war. They weaponized everything. They turned their own sun's power into bombs. They created artificial intelligence designed only to kill more efficiently. And now one of their ships appears after 200 years of silence and a colony dies of fear. We do not know they killed the colonists, Kelrick insisted. What else could have done it? Vren shot back. The council leader raised his hand for silence. Commander Vren mobilized the defense fleet. Scholar Mytha, continue researching human history. Ambassador Kelrick, prepare a diplomatic message to send to the approaching vessel. We will try to talk, but we will be ready to fight. Everyone nodded and began to leave. Kelrick moved toward Mytha. Tell me the truth. What chance do we have if they are hostile? Mytha's color turned black. Despair. The ancient records say that humans are the species that refuse to die. Every time their world tried to kill them, they adapted. Every time they faced extinction, they survived. They made weapons of their own sun. They turned their moon into a fortress. And in their final wars, they were developing technology that should not exist. Reality-altering weapons, quantum bombs, nanomachine swarms. And now they are coming here, Kelrick whispered. Yes, Mytha said. And we have no idea why. We do not know if they want peace or war. We do not know if they are the same species that left their world, or if they have become something worse. All we know is that in 48 hours we will meet the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever produced. Kelrick looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, moving closer every second, was a ship built by creatures who had mastered warfare. A ship from Earth, and the galaxy could only watch and wait. High Commander Vren stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Celestial Guardian. Around him, over 800 ships formed the largest military fleet the galaxy had assembled in modern times. Every species had contributed vessels. Even the peaceful Zenthari had sent their small patrol ships. Through the view screen, Vren could see the distant stars. Somewhere out there, the human warship was approaching. His tactical officer called out updates every few minutes. 3 hours until contact. 2 hours. 1 hour. In the council chamber, Scholar Mytha continued her presentation. The sealed archives had revealed more about humanity than anyone wanted to know. Ambassador Kelrick sat in his seat listening with growing horror. This is footage from human historical records, Mytha said. The holographic display showed images from Earth's past. Kelrick watched humans fight each other with primitive weapons. Thousands died in single battles. Then the weapons improved. Guns that could kill from far away. Bombs that could destroy entire cities. Flying machines that dropped death from the sky. This is from their 20th century, Mytha explained. They fought 2 global wars. In the Second War, over 70 million humans died. They used chemical weapons, firebombs, and finally atomic bombs. They dropped nuclear weapons on their own kind. A council member gasped. They used atomic weapons? On their own planet? Twice, Mytha confirmed. And that was just the beginning. After the war, 2 groups of humans competed to build bigger weapons. They created bombs that could destroy entire continents. At their peak, they had enough nuclear weapons to destroy their planet 50 times over. Madness, someone whispered. Yes, Mytha agreed, but effective madness. Their weapons technology advanced faster than any other species on record. In just 100 years, they went from flying in primitive aircraft to landing on their moon. They built space stations, sent probes to other planets, and began planning colonies. The display changed. It showed human cities in their final days. Clean, advanced, full of life. Then the images shifted to empty streets, abandoned buildings, cities with no people. This is what observers found 200 years ago, Mitha said. No bodies, no signs of destruction, just emptiness. The prevailing theory was that humanity had finally destroyed itself with biological weapons or nanomachines, something that killed them all but left the building standing. But they survived, Kelrick said quietly. Apparently. And they have been somewhere in the galaxy for 200 years without anyone knowing. The question is where, and what have they been doing? On the bridge of the Celestial Guardian, Vren received the report he had been waiting for. Commander, the human vessel has entered scanner range. We have a visual. The view screen changed. Vren felt his breath catch in his throat. The human warship was enormous. Its dark hull seemed to absorb light. The armor plating was thick and angular, designed to deflect weapons fire. Hundreds of ports and hatches covered its surface, probably hiding weapons or launch tubes. The ship moved with surprising grace for something so large, its engines glowing with a blue-white light. On the hull, in large letters, was a name in human writing. The translation matrix worked slowly, then produced a result. Uance Indomitable. Indomitable, Vren repeated. It means unable to be defeated or subdued. Arrogant, his tactical officer muttered. Or honest, Vren replied. He opened a communication channel. Unknown vessel, this is High Commander Vren of the Galactic Defense Fleet. You are approaching Council space. State your intentions. Silence. The human ship continued its approach. Vren tried again. Unknown vessel, respond or we will consider you hostile. Still nothing. Minutes passed. The fleet moved into position, surrounding the approach vector. 800 ships against one. Vren should have felt confident. Instead, he felt like he was standing before a sleeping predator. Back in the council chamber, an alarm sounded. The fleet has made contact, someone announced. Every screen in the chamber switched to show the view from the fleet. The assembled diplomats stared at the human warship. It was beautiful in a terrible way. Every line of its design spoke of purpose. This was not a ship built for exploration or trade. This was a ship built for war. They are not responding to communications, Vren's voice came through the speakers. I am requesting permission to fire warning shots. The council leader looked at Kelrix. Ambassador, your recommendation? Kelrick stood slowly. Give them more time. Perhaps their communication systems are different from ours. Perhaps they do not understand we are trying to talk. Or perhaps they simply do not care, Vren said. I have my orders prepared. If they do not respond in 5 minutes, I will open fire. Those 5 minutes felt like hours. The human ship continued its steady approach. It made no aggressive moves, but it did not slow down either. It simply moved forward as unstoppable as its name suggested. With 1 minute remaining, every screen suddenly flashed. A signal was coming through. Not on any standard frequency, but on an old emergency band that was rarely used anymore. Then a face appeared on the screens. Kelrix had never seen a human before except in ancient recordings. The woman on the screen had pale skin and dark hair pulled back tightly. Her eyes were gray like storm clouds. She wore a dark uniform with gold symbols on the shoulders. Behind her, Kelrix could see what must be the ship's bridge. Humans moving efficiently between stations, lights and displays everywhere. When she spoke, the translation matrix needed a moment to process. Her language was related to ancient human languages, but different, changed over 200 years of isolation. This is Captain Maria Zhao of the United Nations Starship Indomitable. We mean you no harm. We request permission to address the Galactic Council. Her voice was calm and professional. She did not sound like a monster or a conqueror. She sounded like a military officer doing her job. Vren's voice came back immediately, hard and demanding. Captain Zhao, explain why you killed the colonists on Theros 9. The captain's eyes narrowed. We killed no one, Commander. We are searching for those who did. The same beings that killed them are why we are here. Explain, Vren commanded. Not to you, Zhao replied. I will explain to the Galactic Council, if they grant us an audience. If not, we will continue our mission and leave your space. In the council chamber, urgent discussions broke out. Some species demanded the humans leave immediately. Others wanted to hear what they had to say. Kelrix found himself fascinated by Captain Zhao. She did not seem cruel or violent. She seemed tired. The council leader made his decision. Captain Zhao, you may approach, but any aggressive action will be met with the full force of this fleet. Understood, Zhao replied. We are transmitting our course now. We will arrive at the council chamber in 6 hours. And Commander Vren, you should keep your fleet on alert. Why? Vren asked suspiciously. Because we are not the ones who triggered your warning beacons, Zhao said. Her face was grim. Something else did. Something that has been chasing us across the galaxy, and it is getting closer. The screen went dark. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the sensor officer on Vren's ship shouted in alarm. Commander! New contact! Something just appeared on long-range scanners. Behind the human vessel. It is massive. Energy readings are off the scale. Vren stared at the tactical display. A new shape appeared on the sensors. It dwarfed even the human warship. The readings made no sense. Biological and mechanical at the same time. And it was moving fast, very fast, toward both the humans and the galactic fleet. Scholar Mytha's voice shook as she accessed the oldest archives. No, it cannot be. They were supposed to be gone. They left 3,000 years ago. What are they? Kelrix demanded. Mytha's color turned pitch black. The old destroyers, the harvesters, they consume entire civilizations. Our ancestors barely survived their last invasion. And now they have returned. On every screen they watched as the massive shape closed the distance. The human ship, the Indomitable, changed course. It was positioning itself between the galactic fleet and the approaching horror. Captain Zhao's voice came through again. This time she was not asking for permission. All ships, battle stations, they are here. The thing that emerged from the darkness of space was a nightmare made real. Kelrix watched the screens in the council chamber and felt his foreheart skip in terror. This was what killed the colonists. This was what the ancient beacons had warned against. The harvester vessel was huge, easily twice the size of the human warship. Its hull was a twisted combination of metal and something organic. Parts of it pulsed like living tissue. Other sections gleamed with dark machinery. Thousands of tendrils extended from its body, each one ending in different tools. Cutting lasers. Collection tubes, weapons. What are we looking at? Someone whispered. Scholar Mytha's voice was barely audible. The end of civilizations. The harvesters do not simply kill. They consume. They take everything. Technology, biological material, knowledge. They absorb entire species and use them to make themselves stronger. On the bridge of the Celestial Guardian, Commander Vren gripped his command chair. His tactical officer was shouting numbers. 20 harvester subvessels deploying. They are spreading out to surround the fleet. The massive harvester ship was releasing smaller craft. Each one was still larger than most ships in the galactic fleet. They moved with disturbing fluidity, like sharks circling prey. Vren made his decision. All ships open fire. Target the main vessel. 800 ships turned their weapons on the harvester. Beams of energy lanced through space. Missiles streaked forward. For a moment Vren felt hope. That much firepower could destroy a planet. The harvester's shields absorbed everything. The energy weapons dissipated harmlessly. The missiles exploded against an invisible barrier. Not a single shot reached the hull. Keep firing, Vren ordered. But his voice carried doubt now. The human ship Indomitable had not fired. It hung in space between the fleet and the harvester, engines glowing bright. Captain Zhao's voice came through on the command channel. Commander Vren, cease fire. You are wasting ammunition. We have to fight, Vren shouted back. You are fighting wrong, Zhao replied calmly. Your weapons are designed for police actions and border disputes. The harvesters have shields that can withstand stellar radiation. Your energy weapons will not penetrate. Then what do we use? Vren demanded. Before Zhao could answer, the harvesters attacked. The smaller vessels opened fire with weapons unlike anything the galactic fleet had encountered. Beams of crackling green energy that ate through shields like acid. Biological missiles that attached to hulls and began to dissolve the metal. Sonic pulses that disrupted ship systems. 3 galactic ships died in the first 30 seconds. Their shields collapsed. Their hulls came apart. Their crews were sucked into space or consumed by the harvester weapons. Panic spread through the fleet. Ships broke formation. Some tried to flee. Others fired wildly in all directions. It was chaos. Reform the line, Vren roared. But it was too late. The harvesters were among them now, moving with impossible speed. They targeted engines and weapon systems with precise strikes. They were not trying to destroy the fleet. They were trying to disable it. To harvest it, the Indomitable moved. It accelerated so fast that the sensors could barely track it. One moment it was hovering in space. The next, it was diving into the battle. The human ship rolled and twisted, dodging incoming fire with movements that should have torn it apart from the G-forces. Then it opened fire. The difference was immediate and stunning. The Indomitable did not use energy beams or missiles. It used weapons that made Kelrix's blood run cold. Railguns, huge magnetic accelerators that launched solid metal projectiles at a fraction of light speed. The kinetic impact hit the Harvester shields with the force of small nuclear explosions. Shields that had absorbed the fleet's firepower cracked and shattered. Nuclear-tipped torpedoes, missiles carrying fusion warheads that detonated in brilliant flashes. The radiation washed over Harvester vessels, burning through their organic components, swarm drones. Thousands of small craft that poured from launch tubes. Each one was barely bigger than a person, but they moved with terrifying coordination. They attacked weak points, cut through armor, and dove into breaches to explode inside enemy hulls. Within minutes, the Indomitable had destroyed 4 Harvester subvessels, 4 ships that had shrugged off the entire galactic fleet's firepower. Captain Zhao's voice was calm and professional as she gave orders to her crew. Target the cluster at coordinates 732. Full broadside. Do not let them regroup. The human ship rotated in space. Its entire side was covered in weapon ports. They all fired at once. The concentrated barrage hammered into a group of Harvester vessels. Armor cracked. Organic tissue burned. One ship exploded in a shower of debris. Vren stared in disbelief. How are they doing this? They fight like they mean it, his tactical officer said quietly. The Harvesters recognized the threat. The main vessel turned its attention to the Indomitable. A massive weapon port opened on its front. Energy began to build, visible even in the vacuum of space. Captain Zhao, Vren shouted a warning. The main vessel is targeting you. I see it, Zhao replied. Her voice carried no fear, just cold calculation. All power to forward shields. Brace for impact, the Harvester fired. A beam of pure destruction lanced through space. It was the kind of weapon that could crack a moon. The kind of weapon that no ship should be able to withstand. The Indomitable's shields flared brilliant white. The ship shuddered. Alarms wailed on the bridge. But when the beam stopped, the human vessel was still there. Damaged but intact. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, someone reported on the Indomitable's bridge. Casualties reported. Fires contained. Captain Zhao did not hesitate. Return fire. Pattern Omega 7. The Indomitable launched everything. Railgun rounds, missiles, drones. Energy weapons that it had not used before. All of it focused on one point. The weapon port that had just fired. The concentrated firepower punched through the Harvester's shields. Explosions rippled across its hull. The organic tissue burned. The metal twisted. The main weapon port collapsed inward, but it was not enough. The Harvester was wounded but far from defeated, and the galactic fleet was being torn apart. Ship after ship fell to the smaller Harvester vessels, the space around them filled with debris and bodies. Commander Vren made a choice he never thought he would make. All ships form up on the human vessel. Follow their attack patterns. The surviving galactic ships moved toward the Indomitable. They tried to copy the human ship's movements, its targeting priorities. But they were too slow. Their ships were designed for comfort and efficiency, not combat. Within minutes, more fell to Harvester weapons. On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Zhao watched the tactical display. She saw the galactic fleet dying. She saw her own ship taking heavy damage. She made a decision. Helm, set course for the main Harvester vessel. Full speed, Captain. Her first officer looked shocked. If we get that close, we do what we did to Earth, Zhao said quietly. We sacrifice one to save many. Prepare Prometheus protocol. The bridge crew hesitated for just a moment. Then they moved to obey. Kelrix did not understand what Prometheus protocol meant, but Mytha did. The scholar's form flickered with horror. No, she whispered. They cannot. They are going to overload their reactor. They are going to turn their ship into a bomb. Kelrix felt sick. To destroy the Harvester? And themselves, Mytha confirmed. On the view screens, they watched the Indomitable accelerate toward the main Harvester vessel. Energy readings from the human ship began to spike. Higher and higher. The reactor was going critical. Vren opened a channel. Captain Zhao, you do not have to do this. We are not worth. Every species is worth saving, Zhao interrupted. Her face was calm. Accepting. That is something we learned too late on Earth. We will not make that mistake again. The Indomitable was seconds from detonation. The crew had stopped working at their stations. They stood at attention, ready to die for people they had never met, for a galaxy that feared them. Then space tore open. 4 massive rifts appeared in reality itself. They glowed with impossible light as ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. 4 more human warships, each one as large and powerful as the Indomitable. The lead ship broadcast on all frequencies. The voice was older than Captain Zhao's. Harder, carrying the weight of 200 years of warfare. Captain Zhao, stand down. We will take it from here. On her bridge, Zhao slumped in relief.
Admiral Kawasaki.
You are early. You sent the distress signal 4 hours ago, the Admiral replied. Did you think we would let you die alone? Reset your reactor. We have work to do. The 5 human warships spread out. They formed a protective sphere around what remained of the galactic fleet. Admiral Kawasaki's voice echoed across space. Harvesters, this is Admiral Chen Kawasaki of the United Nations Remnant Fleet. 200 years ago, you made a mistake. You attacked Earth and thought you won. Today we show you what happens when you do not finish the job. The human ships opened fire together. The battle changed in an instant. 5 human warships against 1 massive harvester, and 20 of its smaller vessels. The numbers still favored the enemy, but Commander Vren quickly realized that numbers meant nothing here. The human ships moved like they shared one mind. They did not need to communicate. Every movement was coordinated perfectly. When one ship fired, the others were already moving to support it. When one was targeted, the others drew fire away. This was not just training. This was 200 years of fighting together against impossible odds. The warship called Retribution dove beneath the main harvester vessel. Its hull split open, revealing rows of launch tubes. Hundreds of missiles streaked out, each one carrying a nuclear warhead. They struck the harvester's underside in a pattern, one after another. The shields held for the first dozen impacts. Then they flickered. Then they failed. The nuclear explosions carved massive wounds into the organic hull. The harvester screamed, not over radio, but somehow directly into the minds of everyone present. A sound of rage and pain that made Kelrix want to curl up and hide. The human crews ignored it. They had heard it before. The last light came in from the side, moving at impossible speed. It fired its railguns in a continuous stream. The solid projectiles hammered into the wounded sections, tearing deeper. Metal and flesh flew into space. The harvester tried to turn, tried to bring its weapons to bear, but the human ship was already gone, replaced by the Vengeance. The Vengeance used weapons that Kelrix had never seen before. They looked like white beams, but when they touched the harvester's hull, matter simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris, just nothing. Holes appeared in the armor, cutting through to vital systems inside. What are those weapons? Vren asked in awe. Scholar Mitha checked her displays. Particle beams. They are accelerating atoms to near light speed and using them to disintegrate matter at the molecular level. The energy requirements should be impossible. Apparently not for humans, Vren muttered. Admiral Kawasaki's flagship, the Endurance, stayed back with the Indomitable. Together, they formed a shield around the surviving galactic ships. Harvester sub-vessels tried to break through, but the 2 human ships cut them down with brutal efficiency. On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Zhao directed her damaged ship with steady hands. Target the cluster approaching from Sector 9. Use the remaining drones. The last of the ship's swarm drones launched. They moved like a school of fish, flowing around harvester fire, sacrificing some to save the rest. When they reached their targets, they struck weak points with precision. Engine cores, weapon systems, life support. 3 more harvester vessels went dark, drifting in space. In the council chamber, the assembled representatives watched in stunned silence. They were seeing warfare as it was meant to be practiced. Not the careful, measured responses of civilized society, but total war. War where the only goal was complete destruction of the enemy, and the humans were winning. The main harvester vessel, wounded and burning, tried a new tactic. Ports opened across its hull. Thousands of small objects poured out. At first, Vren thought they were drones like the human ones. Then he saw them move. They were living creatures. Harvester troops. Each one was a nightmare combination of different species. Arms from one race, eyes from another. weapons grafted directly into their bodies. They flew through space using biological thrusters heading straight for the human ships. "Boarding parties," Zhao said calmly. "Admiral, they are trying to board us." "Let them try," Kawasaki replied. "All ships prepare for close combat. Remember your training." The harvester creatures latched onto the human ship's hulls. They began cutting through the armor with organic acids and plasma torches. Breaches opened. The creatures poured inside. Kelrix felt horror wash over him. They will be slaughtered. The humans cannot fight inside their own ships while piloting them. But Mitha was checking her sensors. "I am detecting energy weapons fire inside all 5 ships. The humans are fighting them, while also fighting in space?" Vren could not believe it. On the Retribution, human marines moved through the corridors. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons that roared with gunfire. The harvester creatures were fast and deadly, but the humans had prepared for this. Every corridor was a kill zone. Every hatch a trap. The humans did not fight with fear or hesitation. They fought with cold precision. "Breach sealed on Deck 4, a Marine reported. 23 hostiles eliminated. No human casualties. Similar reports came from all 5 ships. The harvesters were skilled at boarding and consuming enemy vessels. But they had never fought humans before. They had never faced a species that had perfected close-quarters combat over thousands of years of warfare. Outside, the space battle continued. The 3 human attack ships, Retribution, Last Light, and Vengeance, worked together to destroy the last of the harvester subvessels. They did not leave survivors. They did not show mercy. Each enemy ship was reduced to debris. The main harvester vessel, now alone, tried to flee. Its engines glowed bright as it attempted to build up speed for a jump to faster-than-light travel. "Target its engines," Admiral Kawasaki ordered. "Do not let it escape." All 5 human ships focused their fire on the harvester's propulsion systems. The concentrated barrage was devastating. Explosions rippled across the rear of the massive vessel. The engines died. The harvester drifted helpless. "Finish it," Kawasaki said. The humans did not use their biggest weapons for the final kill. They used railguns, simple kinetic weapons that had existed for hundreds of years. Round after round slammed into the harvester's hull. The impacts created a drumbeat of destruction. The organic sections collapsed. The mechanical parts shattered. Fires spread through the interior. And still the humans fired. They did not stop until the harvester was nothing but a debris field spreading through space. Silence fell over the battlefield. The galactic fleet, or what remained of it, hung in space among the wreckage. 217 ships lost. Over 60,000 lives gone. It was the worst military disaster in modern galactic history. But it could have been so much worse. Commander Vren opened a channel to the Endurance. "Admiral Kawasaki, thank you. You saved us." "We did our job," Kawasaki replied. His voice carried weariness. "Captain Zhao, status report." "The Indomitable is heavily damaged," Zhao said. "We have lost 40% of our crew. Hull breaches on 12 decks. Reactor stable but running at 60% capacity. We will need months in dock for full repairs." "The other ships?" "Retribution reports moderate damage. Last Light is functional. Vengeance took hits but remains combat ready. Endurance is untouched." "Good," Kawasaki said. "Commander Vren, we need to talk. Your council needs to understand what just happened." 2 weeks later, Ambassador Kelrix stood in the repaired council chamber. The assembly was smaller now. Some species had lost too many representatives in the battle. Others were too afraid to return. At the center of the chamber stood Admiral Kawasaki and Captain Zhao. They wore clean uniforms, but Kelrix could see the weight they carried. The Indomitable's crew had held a memorial service for their fallen. They had read every name aloud, all 3,000 of them. It had taken 8 hours. The council leader called the session to order. "Admiral Kawasaki, you requested this audience. Speak." The admiral stepped forward. He was an older man, his hair gray, his face lined with scars. When he spoke, his voice carried authority. 200 years ago, the harvesters found Earth. They came to consume us like they have consumed countless species before. But we refused to die. We fought them in our solar system for 50 years. We turned every planet, every moon, every asteroid into a weapon. We lost billions. Our world became a graveyard. He paused, letting that sink in. In the end, we evacuated Earth. We turned our moon into a massive bomb and detonated it along with our planet's core. The explosion destroyed the main harvester fleet. But some escaped. We have spent 200 years hunting them across the galaxy. 14 fleets destroyed. 14 colonies of yours that never knew they were in danger. Shock rippled through the assembly. 14 times. The humans had saved them 14 times without anyone knowing. The fleet you fought was a scouting force, Kawasaki continued. A small group searching for new species to harvest. The real invasion, the one that nearly destroyed this galaxy 3,000 years ago, is coming. You have maybe 5 years to prepare. Will you help us? Kelrix asked quietly. Admiral Kawasaki looked at Captain Zhao. She nodded. They had already decided. We will teach you to fight, Kawasaki said. We will share our weapons, our tactics, our experience. But you need to understand something. We fight differently than you. We do not have surrender protocols. We do not take prisoners. We do not stop until the enemy is destroyed or we are. That is the price of survival. The council chamber fell silent. Finally, the council leader spoke. We accept. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Helion. The galaxy was different now. Fear had turned into determination. Helplessness had become preparation. And at the center of it all were the humans. Ambassador Kelrix walked through the military academy on Zenthar. The building had been a museum before the battle. Now it was a training center. In every room, humans taught galactic species how to fight. He stopped outside a classroom where Captain Zhao was teaching tactics. On the holographic display, she showed the Battle of Helion from multiple angles. You made 3 critical mistakes, she told the assembled officers. First, you bunched your ships together. That made you an easier target. Second, you panicked when your weapons failed. You should have switched tactics immediately. Third, you tried to flee instead of fighting as a unit. A young Krillian officer raised his hand. But we are not warriors like you. We have not fought for generations. Zhao's expression softened slightly. Neither had Earth when the harvesters came. We were fighting each other when they arrived. We had to learn fast or die. That is what you must do now. Learn fast, she changed the display. This is Harvester battle doctrine. They rely on fear and overwhelming force. They expect you to panic. If you stay calm, follow your training, and work together, you can survive. You might even win. Kelrix moved on. In another room, human engineers worked with galactic scientists. They were designing new weapons. Not the brutal, efficient human weapons, but something in between. Weapons that the galactic species could build and maintain. The key is redundancy, a human engineer explained. Your ships are too fragile. One good hit and the whole system goes down. You need backup systems, multiple power sources, compartmentalized sections that can seal off in case of breach. A Zenthari scientist looked troubled. But that will make our ships slower, less efficient. Better slow and alive than fast and dead, the human replied. Speed means nothing if you cannot survive the first hit. In the shipyards orbiting nearby worlds, construction was constant. The galactic fleet was being rebuilt. New ships designed with human consultation. Heavier armor, better shields, more powerful weapons. They would never match human warships, but they would be far better than before. Commander Vren now spent most of his time training with human military advisors. Kelrix found him in a simulation room running battle scenarios. The human instructor, a grizzled Marine named Sergeant Rodriguez, was not gentle. Again, Rodriguez barked. You are still thinking like a police force. This is war. You do not arrest the enemy. You destroy them. Vren ran the scenario again. This time, his virtual fleet moved with more aggression. When harvester vessels appeared, he focused fire on one target until it was destroyed, then moved to the next. No hesitation. No mercy. Better, Rodriguez admitted. You are learning. Slowly but learning. Vren wiped sweat from his face. How did your people become so good at this? Rodriguez's expression darkened. Practice. Lots and lots of practice. Humans have been killing each other for thousands of years. When the harvesters came, we just redirected that talent toward a new target. Do you regret it? Vren asked. All that violence in your history? Every day, Rodriguez said quietly. But it kept us alive. And now it keeps you alive. So maybe something good came from all that blood. In her office, scholar Mitha studied the data from the battle. She had been analyzing the harvester vessel's remains. What she found was disturbing. Ambassador, she called when Kelrix entered. I have finished the analysis. The harvesters we fought were primitive compared to the ones from ancient records, like comparing a stone knife to a fusion weapon. What are you saying? Kelrix asked. The scouting fleet was weak, maybe intentionally so. The real harvester fleets, the ones that nearly destroyed the galaxy before, will be much stronger. If the humans struggled with this one, how will we face the others? Kelrix had no answer. Instead, he asked, "Have you learned anything about where the humans have been for 200 years? Mitha pulled up a star chart. Red dots marked locations across the galaxy. Every place the humans fought a harvester fleet. They have been everywhere, living in their ships, never settling, always hunting. Admiral Kawasaki told me they have 12 billion people scattered across 200 mobile stations. Children who have never seen a planet, families who live and die on warships. They sacrificed their home," Kelrix said softly. "Their world, everything, for what?" "For us," Mitha replied. "Even though they did not know us. Even though we would have feared them. They became monsters to fight monsters." On the bridge of the Endurance, Admiral Kawasaki reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Human ships had spread out to assist with defenses. The Indomitable, finally repaired, was back on patrol. The other warships were training galactic forces in real combat scenarios. Captain Zhao entered his ready room. "Admiral, we received a message from the deep space sensors. The warning beacons are activating. Multiple points across the galaxy." Kawasaki felt his stomach sink. "How many?" 17 so far. More appearing every hour. Zhao's face was grim. "The main harvester fleet is not coming in 5 years. It is coming now. How long until they reach inhabited space? 6 months. Maybe less." Kawasaki stood and walked to the viewport. Outside he could see the galactic fleet conducting drills. They had improved, but they were not ready. "Not for this. Send a message to all human ships," he ordered. "Return to Rally Point Alpha. We need every vessel we have. And contact the Galactic Council. Tell them it is time." The emergency council session was the largest in history. Every species sent representatives. The chamber was packed. When Admiral Kawasaki entered with Captain Zhao, the room fell silent. "The Harvester main fleet has been detected," Kawasaki announced. "They will be here in 6 months. This is the invasion your ancestors barely survived. This is what has been coming for 3,000 years. Panic erupted. Species demanded evacuation. Some wanted to surrender. Others argued for hiding and hoping the harvesters would pass them by. Silence. Commander Vren roared. The room quieted. "We have trained for this. We have prepared. And we have allies who know how to fight. But we are not ready," someone protested. "Our new ships are not finished. Our crews need more training. We need more time." "You do not get more time," Captain Zhao said sharply. "War does not wait for you to be ready. You fight with what you have or you die. That is the reality." Ambassador Kelrix stood. "The captain is right. We can debate and panic, or we can act. I vote we fight, together." The vote was called. It was not unanimous, but it was enough. The Galactic Council committed to defend their space. Not because they were brave, not because they were ready, but because the alternative was extinction. Over the next months, the galaxy transformed. Every species contributed to the war effort. Ships were built at record pace. Weapons were manufactured. Soldiers were trained. Even peaceful species like the Zenthari learned to fight. Human advisors were everywhere, teaching, training, preparing the galaxy for what was coming. They did not sugarcoat the danger. They told everyone the truth: many would die. Worlds might fall, but if they stood together they had a chance. Captain Zhao spent her time on the Indomitable, which had become the flagship of a combined fleet. Human and alien crews worked side by side. It was awkward at first. The aliens found humans too aggressive, too violent. The humans found the aliens too soft, too hesitant. But slowly they learned from each other. The aliens learned human efficiency and ruthlessness. The humans learned alien compassion and cooperation. Something new was forming. A combined force that was stronger than either could be alone. In his quarters on the Endurance, Admiral Kawasaki looked at a hologram. It showed Earth as it had been before the harvesters came. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. A world full of life and beauty. A young ensign found him there. She had been born on a colony ship and had never seen Earth. "Sir, do you think we will ever go home?" Kawasaki thought about it. For 200 years, humanity had been homeless, wandering, fighting, dying far from the world that gave them birth. "We are home," he said finally. "Every world worth defending is Earth now. Every species we protect is humanity's family. We lost our planet, but we gained a galaxy." The ensign looked confused. I do not understand. You will, Kawasaki said. When the harvesters come and you see these aliens stand and fight beside us. When you see Zenthari pilots sacrifice themselves to save human ships. When you see Krillian soldiers hold the line so civilians can evacuate, then you will understand. We are not humans anymore. We are guardians. And this galaxy is what we guard. The warning beacons continued to activate. The harvester fleet was massive. Thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands, coming from all directions. It was the nightmare scenario, but the galaxy was ready, as ready as it could be. The combined fleet gathered. Over 3,000 ships, human warships at the center, surrounded by the new galactic defense vessels. They formed a defensive sphere around the core worlds, multiple layers, multiple kill zones. If the harvesters wanted these worlds, they would have to pay for every meter of space. Captain Zhao stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. Around her, her crew prepared for the battle that would decide everything. Beside her stations, alien officers worked. A Zenthari at navigation, a Krillian at weapons, a Vathan monitoring sensors.